All right, I think that may have fixed it. Let me know if you guys hear it now. I switched or I added another device to my system, so it looks like I'm seeing the audio signature on the screen. So let me know if you guys can hear me. I know that there's a little bit of a lag. Okay, awesome. And welcome, Jay. Thank you for joining, and thank you guys both for letting me know about the the audio issues. First time doing the live stream thing with OBS, so of course there's going to be some issues. I also made the mistake of deciding to install a new video capture card in addition to the one that I'm using right now last night, which was probably a bad idea. It looks like that's what screwed up the microphone stuff. It was picking the audio input from the capture card that wasn't connected. Anyway, so thank you guys for joining. It looks like there's a couple of us in the chat. It's a fairly small group for now, but hopefully we'll have some more people join us, and we'll hopefully see some more people join in the future. So I thought I'd sort of start off by talking about what my intention for doing the live stream was. Firstly, I thought it would be a kind of a good thing to do given the pandemic and kind of what's going on with that. Obviously, it's a weird time. I think most of us in most parts of the world are socially isolating. A lot of us are nerds, so that's nothing new, but probably more severe than usual. So I thought it would be good to have sort of a potential place where people could kind of interact with each other. The other thing that I think is kind of relevant to the stuff that I talk about on this channel is what is going to be going on with the economy going forward, right? So I think that there is an almost certainty that there's going to be some kind of recession. And I thought that this could be a good venue, especially for some of you guys who are a little bit younger, who may not have gone through a major recession while they were working in tech, or they were just kind of just getting into the industry, things like that. And sort of give an opportunity to let those folks ask any questions that they might have on their mind, and I may be able to answer them or kind of give my experience as somebody who's gone through two major recessions at this point. And then the other thing that I thought would be an interesting aspect of this is to try to do them regularly so that folks who decide to participate in the chat or comment on the videos or things like that can potentially interact with each other. And one of the things I think is going to be sort of a theme going forward in terms of preparing for the next recession is getting yourself in a position where you are as prepared possible from a resume standpoint, whether that is to retain your current job or in the event that you get laid off to try to go find a new one. And I think part of that is going to be having things like certifications. Now, people have various different opinions on certifications, and I think that experience and projects and things like that are probably more important as you get more and more senior in your career. But in the time of things like recession, even if it's not going to necessarily add a huge amount of benefit for somebody maybe in the middle of their career towards the end of their career, if you're transitioning into a newer kind of role, it's useful for that. There are certifications that do have a good amount of value. And at the end of the day, some people may decide to go pursue certifications as a way forward to help bolster their credentials and their resume and stuff. So one of the things I thought is that because this is probably going to be a common thing, there's a decent chance that among the people who end up coming here, you guys may decide to go work on the same certifications, right? So this channel has been fairly Unix and Linux oriented. So maybe folks decide that they want to go self-study for some Linux certs, right? Because obviously if you take a class, you got to go pay money for it. And in a time of recession, that might be a tougher thing to do now than normal, especially if you've already been laid off. So having other people that you can go study with and maybe use this as a way to kind of help facilitate that and, be able to self-study on your own. And then, once a week or however often we end up doing these, be able to sort of check in with maybe somebody like myself who's got a decent bit of experience, or maybe some of the other more experienced members of the community that hopefully join and be able to go answer other folks' questions. So that's kind of what I was thinking with this. Um, I don't really have any sort of major topics planned, but I thought first I'd check to see if any of you guys have any questions. I think that would be the first thing that I should go do. And if you do, we can talk about those. And then if not, I thought maybe I would talk about my sort of first recession that I went through, which was when I was pretty early on in my career with the dot-com boom and then the subsequent dot-com crash, which was a pretty significant one. So yeah, I'll sort of pause for a second and see if you guys have any questions in the chat. And if you do, feel free to go ahead and jump in. For anybody else, if you down the road end up having any questions with sort of topics and things, that feel free to go post in the video, and then you guys can always go ahead and contact me. If you go to like the about page, there's a section where you can get my email address. That points to the Gmail account that I use with this. You're better off emailing me at nick@nicholasbernstein.com or youtube@nicholasbernstein.com. It's a catch-all. It basically just sorts the email into forwardals based on kind of the address that they're sent to. So. All right. Well, I'm not seeing any questions. So I thought what I would do is talk about maybe a little bit about my first recession, which sounds like the most depressing children's book that's ever been written. So my first recession was weird. It was right after the dot-com boom, and I was maybe 19, I think, something around there, 19, 20. It was right about 2000, maybe 99, something like that, 99, 2000. I graduated in 1998 or 1997. 97? I forget, 97 or 98 from high school. I think it was, yeah. So I was either 19 or 20. And had gone to school for a little bit and then had been working for a consulting company for maybe about a year. And then ended up getting a job at another company where I had no idea how ridiculous an opportunity it was because the entirety of the dot-com boom, people were so desperate for people with any IT knowledge that they would lie to you. And they would tell you that you were a genius, and they would tell you that, all these kind of crazy things that sort of inflate that this was normal. So it was a really weird thing, and you sort of got warped perspective. I think it's a little bit better going into this recession now because I think less people will have that. My dog is making very strange noises. Anyway, so I thought this was normal, but I ended up getting a job at a very small company out in Massachusetts. And they were basically all from the MIT Media Lab. So pretty much everybody there came from the MIT Media Lab, except for myself, one gentleman who was a sort of a business background from the defense industry kind of space, and the receptionist and me. We were basically the only people. And so very, very small company. And it was insane. I mean, these were outlandishly smart people. And I know people who have gone to MIT, and they're all very smart. Media Lab is particularly smart. And pretty much all these folks had dual PhDs in mathematics and then comp sci or some other kind of engineering kind of discipline. And I thought that was normal. That gives you an idea of how skewed my understanding of things was. And they were a phenomenal company, and they were just bent over backwards to make me happy. I was barely working at all, just doing kind of day-to-day IT stuff. and had expressed some interest in going back to school and maybe studying math. And they were incredibly excited about this idea. So they had cut my hours back to, almost nothing, so I could potentially do this, but was still paying me my full salary, which was insane. And I ended up going on vacation out to Los Angeles because I had a friend who had some free plane tickets after working for the airlines, and basically quit my job after going out there on vacation because the weather was nicer. Not again, I was like 19 at the time, so you don't have the same kind of perspective that and it was basically everything I had known up to that point was people just throwing money at us. So moved out to Los Angeles, was there for about 3 months, and then the economy disintegrated. And for the next year, I spent the time doing whatever I could to make money. I did a little bit of IT consulting. I did a lot more work in construction. I worked retail. I worked at a photography store. I worked at an art store. Um, I did anything I could to stay above water, including borrowing money from my parents, which I was very fortunate to be in the position that they were able to lend me money. Um, and it was very tough. It was very tough. It was very um, mentally difficult, um, and it was a hard thing to go through. And I think that's what a lot of people are going to experience, especially for the younger folks who are new to the industry. It's a difficult thing to do, um, but you'll get through it. That's the big thing, is you will absolutely get through this. You may need to work some uncomfortable jobs. One of the things that I did, however, during that period of time that I found really kind of saved me was leaned into the things that made me work in tech in the first place. So basically, what I decided to go do is to build a substantial website project, similar to like a DeviantArt kind of website. So I spent about a year coding and writing, this website that I put together. Never really went anywhere, right? But I spent a huge amount of time on it. Really learned PHP. So it wasn't like I knew a little bit of PHP. I felt very comfortable coding in PHP at that time. I was basically spending all day when I wasn't working, more or less every day, doubling down on that. Learned SQL to the point where I was very comfortable with it, and really sort of spent that time building up my knowledge base and my credentials. And what I found is a few years later, when the economy started getting better, I was able to get a job in tech, and had built my skills up enough where at that point I was able to not only get a job, but they felt that I was being underpaid after, I think, about 3 months. So after about 3-4 months, I got I don't know, maybe like a 30% raise working at that company. Document Systems, great company. They treated me very, very well. Good people. And yeah, that was basically how I got through the recession. One of the things that I did find, however, that was quite nice was basically all of the people who had gotten in technology for the money, just because there was a lot of money in tech, they got washed out. So all of a sudden, all of the people who I was working with felt like the kinds of people who should be working in the industry. And basically what would happen is the people who were just there for the money would kind of come back in, and then we'd have a sort of another recession that would wash them out. And they would come back in, and then they would get washed out. But the people who were really in the industry because they love it, because they do this stuff normally, because even when they're not being paid to do tech stuff, they do tech stuff. That's who ends up being left. So lean into that. Take this time to go learn stuff. So it looks like we have no questions from the chat. So that's basically the kind of gist of kind of what I thought about when I first started kind of thinking about the idea of doing this. But I also wanted to go run a couple ideas off of you guys, and I realize I'm rambling. This is completely off the cuff. So I may even sort of get rid of this video, depending on how badly it looks once I go back and review it. But couple of things I was thinking about doing. As a lot of you guys who've been watching the channel for a while know, I spent a good amount of time developing a class for the Linux Professional Institute's LPIC curriculum. So basically their entry-level certification. So I'm thinking that I may do a free class for people who have been laid off or find themselves in a difficult position. I don't know exactly how I'm going to do that yet, but if that's something that would apply to you because you've been laid off, feel free to reach out to me. I'll probably have another video on this in the not too distant future where I sort of figure that out a little bit more. I also, and I don't know if this is going to work out, unfortunately, but I was talking to one of the companies that I do a lot of my training through about the idea of potentially offering people some discounts. So if they go through that class and they get the certification, then I'd be able to go ahead and have them, get a discount code to some of the other stuff that this company teaches. Now, I don't know if that's going to be doable. They're talking about some issues with accreditation, where they're allowed to go sell classes to companies and organizations, but not to individuals. So unfortunately, that sounds like there's going to be some things that need to be figured out, and maybe have to have some lawyers involved, which oftentimes means that that's not going to happen, unfortunately. So I'm not going to get into the name of the company or anything like that, because it's if we can't make it happen, then it doesn't make them look great. Unfortunately, I don't think they're at fault about anything, but yeah. So I'm gonna try to go figure that out. And then the other thing that I thought that I might do, and I don't know if this would be interesting to anybody, is talk about maybe setting up some kind of forum or sort of messaging kind of platform. I don't know what it would be yet. It might be like a PHP bulletin board, or it might be something like a Matrix chat room. I don't really know, but something to go facilitate that kind of collaborative study kind of stuff that I was talking about before. So anyway, this has been very rambly. It's about 6:30. It looks like can't see how many participants we have right now, but I'm not getting any questions. I feel like it's sort of being a little bit rambly, so I may just sort of close this down, and then hopefully what I'll do is I'll post another, like a real video a little bit later on in the week. So this has been an experiment. What I would love to have you guys do is to tell me if you think this is generally a good idea, whether or not you attended. And if you do think it's a good idea, I'd love to hear about when would be a good time to go do it. Because one of the things I noticed as I went live with this is that Big Daddy Linux is live streaming, and he's got a whole bunch of people watching. So there may be some overlap in our channels, and people are watching that instead of watching this. So feel free to suggest a time when you guys would like to see that. And yeah. So Jay's saying probably in the morning. Farud is saying it's 3 a.m. here. So thanks for staying up. That's so 3 hours earlier would be better. Okay. You can definitely take that into account. I think 3 o'clock would probably be pretty doable. So yeah, so hopefully other people who will sort of watch down in the future will be able to go comment on that as well and sort of give us some ideas. But Jay saying morning in the USA. See, the morning in the USA part is tough because that means that I have to get up early, um, which especially with the quarantine, I find is being more and more difficult, especially when I'm not working. I tend to be staying up unreasonably late, but we can see how we'll see how that goes. So it's definitely something I'll look at, and actually that may be a great idea because that may force me to get up early, which could be a very good secondary benefit from this. Because I find that oftentimes that's one of my life hacks is to like schedule conference calls and meetings at like 9:30 a.m., which means that I got to be up by like 8 so I can be ready. Yeah, Jay, I think a lot of the followers are international. It's kind of interesting. I'm not sure why that has worked out that way, but definitely know that there's a lot of Aussies and a few Europeans and things like that that I've noticed. So, all right. Well, I think I will. I think I'll wrap this up then. But for those guys who watched, thank you so much for taking the time. And yeah, and then the last thing, just to put it out there again. Um, this is a weird time for everybody. If there's anything that I can do to help, please don't hesitate to ask. If it's something that I'm not comfortable with, or if it's something that I don't feel like I have the ability to do, I will say that, and I will turn it down. But I have absolutely no problem with people asking me for things. I am very lucky that I generally only work 2 weeks a month anyway. So I've got a bunch of free time. At this point, I'm gonna be stuck at home, right? So if people are looking for like a mentor, if people are looking for somebody to go bounce questions off of, whether it's through YouTube or just via email or however you want to go do it, um, you know, I've been very lucky that a lot of people helped me when I was younger, and getting into the industry. So if I can, I would love to sort of pay that forward, um, and then help other folks in any way that I can. And I will say that I've been trying to do that during this pandemic, sort of generally. And man, that's such a good way to to sort of help keep your spirit up. I think we tend to sort of focus on ourselves and like, how can this impact me? But if you look at how can I help other people, it stops you from sort of fixating on all the potential bad things that can happen to you and puts you in a mode where it's like, okay, we're going to help each other. So now I'm not going to talk about the specific details of that because while I am not a religious person, one of the things that I've taken away from being raised Jewish is the idea of a mitzvah, which means it doesn't count as a good deed if you tell people about it because then it's just bragging. But anyway, take care of yourselves. Be good to each other. Please reach out if you feel like you need help with something, and if I can be of help, I will. And hopefully, we'll make this a more regular thing. And I'll see if I can go ahead and try to go make this a little bit earlier. Maybe maybe next time we'll shoot for maybe like noon. That could be like a sort of a decent compromise time. So maybe like noon Saturday, and see if how that goes. But for folks who are watching this later on down the road, feel free to go ahead and jump into the comment section and let me know what you guys think in terms of when this might be a good time to go do it. So anyway, I'll wrap this up and shut up and let you guys get back to the rest of your day. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you guys in another video that's a little bit better produced and well thought out than this one. Take care.